Welcome to the Produce Moms Podcast, where we believe there is a produce mom in all of us. I'm Lori Taylor, founder and CEO of the Produce Moms. For 10 years, I sold fresh produce to over 300 grocery stores in the U.S. And today, my team and I are fully focused on inspiring people to eat more fruits and vegetables. This show is just one of the ways that we hope to inspire you and your family to eat more produce and live a better life. If you like what you're hearing on the podcast, join our community of almost 40,000 in all 50 states and over 30 countries by visiting theproducemoms.com/subscribe. And be sure to subscribe and leave us a review on iTunes. Thanks for being here. Enjoy today's show. Welcome back, everyone. Today on the Produce Moms Podcast, we are welcoming a guy who is absolutely he doesn't even need an introduction. He is such a legend in the produce industry. A man who has really believed in the Produce Moms for a very long time and has ushered in this whole new frontier for the brand as we are coming forward with our first co-branded consumer product. Thanks to his vision and his support, we are just thrilled to welcome Tony Freytag. He is the Executive Vice President of Crunch Pak, which I know is everyone's favorite Apple snack. And gosh, I just learned in the pre-show, and I'm so excited. I've got the biggest smile on my face. Tony is one of the founders of the company, which I knew, but what I didn't know is that he actually sliced the first Crunch Pak apples in his home kitchen. We are welcoming a true founder and visionary to the show today. Tony, I'm so glad you're here.
Well, thank you for having me. I'm glad to be here, and I'm very impressed with this guy that you're having on right now. I mean, after you gave that build up. So.
It's you, and you know it's you.
That's right. Sorry.
So I have this amazing profile on your LinkedIn profile is pulled up on my desk right now, and it states right here, you took a non-existent category in the value-added produce section to what today is over $700 million in retail sales. It's amazing, Tony.
It's been a fun ride, and it's not over.
That's right. No, it's not. So tell us more about your story. Tell us about where you came from, why you're passionate about this, why you started Crunch Pak.
Well, if you go back to the early days, my background, I grew up in Texas, in Austin, Texas, and my mom and dad were both came from families that were farmers and ranchers. And so every summer, of course, we lived in the city. And so every summer we got shipped off. My brothers and I got shipped off to the farm. And so learning what goes on in the farming world. And I decided at the wise old age of about 10 that I wanted no part of agriculture in any way, form, or fashion. So fast forward to the 90s, I had run a company that worked a lot with high-end retailers, more on the fashion and the gift side, Neiman Marcus, Saks Fifth Avenue, Bloomingdale's, folks such as that. And I was contacted by a company that had 5,000 acres of pecans, or pecans, depending on what part of the country you're in. And right. They had been in the commodity business forever. So selling pecans by the truckload, not by the ones or the case. And so they asked me to come aboard to really help develop a value-added business. At about that same time, and we ended up doing what would now be called an e-commerce site, then called mail order. We built a retail store, developed retail packages, got the product into retail distribution through some of the various wholesale markets around the country, the gourmet wholesale markets. About that same time, had the opportunity to move to Oregon, and through actually my daughter in her school, got to know a family based there. They're quite prominent in the pear business in Medford, Oregon, the Namas family. And so Mike asked me to come to work for him, Mike Namas, to really help develop the value-added business on the pear and the apple side. And in the process, we came across a process that was used to an anti-browning solution, for lack of better terms, for apples and pears. Truth be known, the first product that we really tested were pears. And now 20 years later or more, we may have actually figured that out, but pears are much more difficult in many ways because people like to eat them in different ways. But at the same time, we began testing apples. And so, yeah, the first apples were sliced in my kitchen, and my kids both were sampling them, and they're both fine. They're both grown, so that they did just fine. There was no damage, and they liked them. And we did some very, very rudimentary testing. We had a lady that worked for us at that time that carried around little baggies of our sliced apples all over the place. And it's when you could take food on a plane, things such as that. And she would hand them out. And one of the real aha moments was there was a lady at a baseball game. And Mary asked this lady, she gave her some of the apples, the lady liked them. And she said, well, would you pay X dollars a pound, whatever it was at that point? And the lady said, absolutely. And Mary said, why? And she said, because I'd rather be here at the game than home slicing apples. Because, you know, as moms and parents, your children are involved in a lot of different things. And sometimes you're more of a Uber to them as much as anything else, taking them from one project or one thing that they're doing to another. And so it was really sort of, and this was in the dawn of, obviously bag lettuce had come on in the early 90s. You saw a change going on in the baby carrots, as they called them. And so we saw this as an opportunity. And through a series of things, there was a facility up in Washington where I'm located. And we opened a small facility, probably 300 square feet, and began processing. And one of the things that people ask about is, okay, is it safe? Is it healthy? What kind of chemicals? Bottom line is it's calcium and vitamin C from the standpoint of an additive. So, and we all could probably use calcium, and vitamin C is never a bad thing, according to what the doctors say. So we felt very comfortable with that, and it added no taste. The key
so
was
important too. Yeah,
exactly. I mean, we grow the Washington and other parts of the country grow incredible apples. Why cover it up? I mean, of course, now there's flavor additives that you can do to make them taste like something else. But the goal in the beginning was to make sure if we're slicing a Gala, if we're slicing a Pink Lady or a Granny Smith, you were getting that flavor profile, and that it was crisp. So the key was to find the right apples that we could slice to give people a good experience. There's a technical word for that, and it's called organoleptic, which means it's all the things that go into a flavor or an eating experience. So it can be the texture, it could be the flavor, it could be the smell, all of those things. And that became a very important word for us. And today, we have our facility in Cashmere, Washington, that is about 50,000 square feet. We have another facility in Selah, Washington, that's about 25,000 square feet. And so all this is to say that every week we produce about 250,000 cases of one sliced apple product or another, and goes out all over the country. And so we're very happy to be part of that has grown. And part of our business, of course, is we want to make sure that we're healthy for kids. We have a licensing agreement with both Disney and with Nickelodeon, obviously that's a kids market. Disney, both of them take extreme care in vetting vendors and suppliers. So that to me is a brand. We co-brand with Disney in the same way that we're now co-branding with you, because I believe you bring a value
Yes.
to us. You bring a value, and hopefully we bring a value to you.
Of course.
And that way we're both helping each other. I mean, I could have years ago, we could have just slapped a Disney label on something. And yes, Disney is certainly a trusted brand, but we also felt that if we were going to do it, we wanted to make sure that people understood the connection. And so that's part of virtually everything that we do. That where we have a partnership, it's co-branded, because we believe that if we're going to take on something or someone that is of strong value and a strong brand, we want them to be associated with us. And hopefully those people want to be associated with us. Right. And so far it's worked.
Oh, no one does it better, really. When you think about the produce department, no one does the co-branded, style of marketing, which is so on trend, Tony. I mean, you've been doing it literally for decades in the produce department. And as a society, we're starting to see it surge in some of the hottest industries in America. Look at what's happened to the sneaker industry with all these NBA players and their cross promotions and the way that they're doing. I mean, shoot, I had a heck of a time finding the Kyrie Irving SpongeBob sneakers for my kids this winter for Christmas. But Paul George did one with NASA, and you guys you're part of that very on trend, innovative way to bring tried and true trusted brands, or the modern day model influencers, and meshing them with your tried and true trusted product line and bringing a to market offering for consumers. So yes, I mean, I can't tell you how honored I am that the Produce Moms and Crunch Pak now have the sliced apples in market. I mean, it is a natural fit when you think about what our brands stand for and the content platform that we've been able to grow at the Produce Moms, thanks to our listeners, today, as well as through our entire digital ecosystem. So it's really been amazing. And this is such a huge moment for me and my business.
Well, and one of the things, and believe me, we're just as excited to be part of what you do, and you bring an enthusiasm and sincerity and a passion for what you're doing, and I've seen it with other things that you're doing, and I know how hard you've worked, and the old adage, if you work hard enough and you have the passion for it, the right things happen. And believe me, there were times where people thought we were absolutely nuts to be selling a slice of an apple, when in reality it's very easy to eat apple. But then we also coined a phrase very early on that we were braces friendly. So if a child was getting braces, they were always told, well, you can't just bite into an apple. You have to cut it up into pieces, etc. So we knew that we were good there. And we actually made the Wall Street Journal with that term, front page of the Wall Street Journal back in, I think, 2001 or 2002. Just somebody picked up on that. And so it's exciting to be part of things that happen and to see the continuation. Because where you're going to be in another year or so is certainly not where you are today. You're going to continue to grow and innovate. And it's the one thing that well, it's absolutely true. And I think I have every confidence you will. But one of the things I think my background working with department store retailers, trendsetters such as Neiman Marcus and Saks Fifth Avenue and Bloomingdale's and all these people that we've read about for years and years, is that as a consumer, we go into a store to buy clothes And we're not going to buy the same clothes over and over and over again. And especially moms. The fashion industry is 4, 5, 6 seasons today. And so we've always believed that if you're not new, then you're losing your audience. And so we're constantly pushing to the point of exhaustion sometimes on some of our staff of what are we doing? What's next?
How can we make a sliced apple exciting? Yeah.
Exactly. And make it more appealing, where somebody may have said something before that, oh, that was sort of cool. Now there's a new reason. And so again, with our children's business, our kids' business, that's really the future customer. And with the things that are going on today with the studies that we know about with obesity and diabetes and all of those things, the healthier we can make kids today, the healthier they're going to be in later in life.
Right.
When my daughter was first in college, and I used to send packages of sliced apples down to her, and I was visiting with her one time in the dorm and walking down the hall with her, and somebody said, "Oh, Ms. Freytag, thank you for sending the apples." And it was encouraging that, here were college kids who probably don't always have the best diets. I know that I didn't. And,
right.
And they were eating our stuff.
Yeah.
And so that's what you want to see. Because ultimately it's going to make us, it is going to make us healthier when the more produce, vegetables and produce that 100%, we eat.
Yes.
No two ways.
Yes.
So, and we're, like I said, we're very excited to be part of your team and
Tony, I'm so excited
for you to be talking about us.
Yes, no, it's wonderful. And, I was recently at the United Fresh Start Foundation where you led a very exciting panel about snacking. And I would love for you to share with our listeners today a little bit more about, obviously, in a way, Tony, you brought fresh produce to the snacking category with the innovation of Crunch Pak. Can you share a little bit more about what the current state of this snack category is for fresh produce, as well as your forecasts?
Well, the category continues to just boom. And one of the things that's happening is that it's in the billions of dollars. And that's a big number to me. And it's to the point where, due to some of the numbers that we talked about, and I think one of them was like $2.6 billion in snacking. Well, granted, some of that is kids, some of it's adults, but it means that people are eating, probably a whole lot of adults are eating what I call desk side dining, because we don't have time to go to lunch, so we sort of eat during the day. And yet, we're trying to also incorporate perhaps proteins. We just had somebody at the Fancy Food Show looking at proteins that are made out of produce, or
like a plant-based, like a chickpea, or
plant-based, exactly.
Okay.
And so, can we add those to some of our products as an ingredient? And so, a lot of what we're doing is, whether it's raisins, whether it's cranberries, or the yogurt covered cranberries, the yogurt covered things, and cheeses, are all part of giving a rounded snack. It's not one dimensional. So we want to be multidimensional. And so you're seeing that category grow. And the exciting thing for the produce industry is we're taking people that were buying items that are perhaps less health-wise. And I'm very careful not to say, mention brands, but we're bringing them to the produce department in such a way, because I can tell you that Disney, as well as Nickelodeon, have requirements that we have to balance what the nutritional values are in one of our Foodles, which is the Disney related, or the Nickelodeon with SpongeBob, or with Paw Patrol. And so that translates also into our thinking into what we do for what I call adult snacking. because again, we're trying to balance that nutritional profile based on what science is telling us today. And we always plan on doing that. And so the more ahead of the curve that we are, I think the better off we're going to be. And I also use the analogy that our competition, the produce industry's competition, is not other produce companies. Yes, there may be other companies that do baby carrots, and some of my best good friends are involved in that business, or the lettuce business, or something. But the real competition to produce comes from the center of the store. It's the cereal companies, it's the candy companies. There's a whole lot of things, and I use the adage that those guys, Kellogg's, not to pick on them, but they spend more money in market research than we'll ever generate. So we have to be smarter. We have to be faster. And at the same time, I think our timing is spot on in the industry that we're offering those things. Not just us, but there's others. Right. But we're excited to be part of it.
Oh my gosh, it's amazing. And the timing is so spot on. And one thing too, that I always emphasize to folks whenever we're talking about a value added produce offering, and just to clarify for any of our listeners that aren't familiar with that terminology, value added means it's fresh cut. It's ready to eat. That's what we mean as produce industry professionals using the term value added. So I know you're familiar with the Crunch Pak products. They're the fresh cut apple slices that you find in the produce department, usually slotted like to the left or the right of the salad kits. Usually in my store where I shop, it's like sandwiched between the juices and the salad kits. That's where I find all of these value added fresh produce items, such as your Crunch Pak apples. And and so one thing that I always want to emphasize to my, our followers when we are talking about value added products, we know that 40% of the food that is grown in the United States is actually wasted. It ends up in the garbage. And the vast majority of that 40% actually occurs at the household level. We have a podcast where we brought on Dana Gunders, the author of Waste Free Kitchen and the interim director of Refed. So that's in our archives. Look it up, listen to it if you want all of the modern stats on like what is happening at with home kitchen food waste, specifically fresh produce waste. And we also know through all of the research that companies like Crunch Pak and others, other stakeholders in the industry have done, as well as just anecdotal common sense. When it is fresh cut and ready to eat, it is less likely to end up in the trash and more likely to actually be consumed. And so that is why I never hesitate to purchase items from that value added section for my family, because life is busy. It's hard. And like what Tony was saying at the beginning of the show with, that chauffeur job, like I always tell people from the time school lets out to the time my children actually go to bed, that's like my 6-hour window of a witching hour where I'm just like absolutely going bonkers, driving them from place to place, trying to get a meal on the table. The value-added section and category of fresh produce is a huge part of my household, huge part, which is why it's such an authentic relationship between the produce moms and Crunch Pak as well.
Well, and I appreciate you saying that. And I think one of the things that we have to strive for, and that's anyone that's in this business, is to having a level of trust that busy parents do have a lot going on, and they want to know that what they grab is, one, going to taste good, and two, it's going to be good for the kids and or good for themselves, because a lot of times things that we're doing for the kids assortment, we then translate into a serving size that is more adult oriented, but with the same values and things such as that. And so I had one buyer years ago said, gee, I love your foodles that you do with Disney. And I said, oh, so you take foodles, you take Mickey Mouse to work? And he goes, oh no, I eat them at home all the time, but I'm not going to eat Mickey Mouse at work. So of course we came back and said, okay, we need to come up with snackers that reflect what adults would have. So, and a lot of times, as you said earlier, anecdotal things that you hear bits and pieces of, and you go, wait a minute, that might be something. And that's what, that's what merchants, that's what marketers do. It's just like you're trying to you're giving the trends of what's going on today. So parents or shoppers have that information and they trust you. And that's really the key.
Well, we are sadly closing in on our time today, but I want to make sure that everyone knows where they can learn more about Crunch Pak. Please check out crunchpak.com. That's CRUNCHPAK.com. The product lineup that Tony was just mentioning is listed. Just click on products on the homepage and you'll see everything that they have to offer, their whole snacking line, what they have in organics, the multi-packs, the new pears that he mentioned, their party trays, all sorts of stuff. So make sure you check it out. Follow Crunch Pak on social media. You're going to see a lot of amazing photos and promotions of our new Crunch Pak and the Produce Moms co-branded apple slices. Couldn't be more honored to be bringing those to market with a brand that I trust, love, and bring into my own home on a weekly basis. So it's really an exciting time for myself and for the Produce Moms brand. So Tony, you have the final word here on the Produce Moms podcast. Our guests always do. So thankful you were able to come on and be our guest today, but please sign us off and say goodbye to our listeners.
Oh, Lori, it was such a pleasure. And it's always a pleasure. I remember times that we've appeared together and it's a great relationship. We really appreciate all you're doing. We're very happy to be part of your success, which also enhances our continued growth and our success. So I can't thank you enough. I highly encourage your followers to pay attention to what you're saying. Mm-hmm. I know that what you're saying is spot on today, and I can't thank you enough.
Thanks for joining us on this episode of the Produce Moms podcast. If you or someone you know would like to be a featured guest, just send an email to lori@theproducemoms.com. We know there is a produce mom in you because there's a produce mom in all of us. Join our community on Facebook and all social platforms. Help us change the way America eats. Thanks again for listening, and we'll see you next time.